Hello, gents. Ever been ghosted by someone and left scratching your head wondering what went wrong? It's a baffling and irritating experience, isn't it? Especially when you're left clueless about what triggered the sudden radio silence. Ignoring someone is usually seen as impolite and disrespectful. But Sigma males have their own motives for pulling the disappearing act. Whether they're dodging your texts, screening your calls, or straight up giving you the silent treatment in person, here are 10 reasons why Sigma males might be giving you the cold shoulder. Number 1. You frequently request favors, but never reciprocate a single one. It's a common scenario. You're constantly bombarded with requests for favors, yet when it comes time for you to ask for a little help in return, there's radio silence. Being on the receiving end of this kind of one-sided interaction can leave you feeling like nothing more than a resource to be tapped into when convenient. Sure, it's natural to lend a hand now and then, but when it becomes a one-way street, it starts to feel less like a friendship and more like a transaction. Sigma males, while typically generous and open to assisting others, also value reciprocity. They believe in the give and take of relationships, where kindness is exchanged freely. However, if they notice that you're always on the receiving end and never seem to give back, it sets off alarm bells. They're not ones to turn a blind eye to patterns, especially if they feel like they're being taken advantage of. Even if they don't have concrete evidence, Sigma males have a knack for picking up on vibes. They trust their intuition implicitly and can sense when something isn't quite right. Whether it's a gut feeling or past experiences that have left them wary, they won't hesitate to distance themselves from someone they perceive as a user. Rather than engage in confrontation, Sigma males might opt for a more passive approach by simply ignoring repeated requests for assistance. It's not about holding a grudge, it's about preserving their own well-being and surrounding themselves with genuine, fair-minded individuals. After all, what's the point of playing a game if only one side gets to have fun? Sigma men prefer friendships where the ball is tossed back and forth, creating an atmosphere of mutual respect and enjoyment for all involved. Number 2. Your actions fail to match your words. It's a tale as old as time. Someone says they'll do one thing, but then turns around and does the exact opposite. It's like promising to bring cake to the party, but showing up empty-handed, disappointing and downright frustrating. When your words don't align with your actions, it creates a rift of mistrust and confusion. Sigma men, in particular, value honesty and integrity above all else. So if they catch wind of this kind of behavior, they're not likely to stick around. Picture this. You make all these grand promises and talk a big game, but when it comes down to it, you fall short. Maybe you say you'll be there for a friend in need, but when push comes to shove, you're nowhere to be found. Or perhaps you pledge to change your ways but end up repeating the same old mistakes. Whatever the case, Sigma men see right through the facade. To them, actions speak louder than words. If what you do doesn't match up with what you say, they'll start to question your credibility. It's like trying to build a house on shaky ground. It's just not sustainable. They'd rather not waste their time and energy on someone who can't follow through on their promises. Instead of confronting you about your inconsistencies, Sigma men might opt for a more straightforward approach. They'll simply distance themselves. It's not about holding a grudge. It's about protecting their own peace of mind. After all, why subject themselves to the confusion and disappointment of expecting one thing and getting another? So if you find yourself on the receiving end of radio silence from a Sigma man, it might be time to reflect on your actions and start walking the talk. Number 3. You spread rumors or talk negatively about them when they're not present. Let's break it down. Spreading rumors or talking smack about Sigma men behind their backs is like playing with fire. You're bound to get burned. Think about it. If word gets back to them that you've been bad-mouthing them, especially if it's all negative or downright false, they won't waste a second cutting ties with you. For Sigma men, honesty and integrity are non-negotiables. They want friends who keep it real, whether they're in the room or not. So if they catch wind of you spreading lies or stirring up drama, they won't hesitate to show you the door. Trust your gut, that's their motto. And if they get even a whiff that you're not being genuine, consider yourself on the chopping block. It's not about holding a grudge or seeking revenge, it's about steering clear of the fake stuff. They believe in treating others with respect, and they expect the same in return. Talking smack behind someone's back? That's the exact opposite of respect. It's betrayal. So, what's their move when they catch wind of this betrayal? They'll ghost you, plain and simple. No dramatic confrontations or heated arguments. They'd rather remove themselves from the toxic situation altogether. Drama and conflict? They're not about that life. So, if you're all sunshine and rainbows to their face but a storm cloud behind their back, don't be surprised when you find yourself standing alone. Sigma men value authenticity above all else, and if you can't bring that to the table, they'll have no problem showing you to the door. Number 4, you consistently criticize others. Imagine this, you're constantly bombarded with criticism, day in and day out. It's like a never-ending barrage of negativity, always focusing on what you're doing wrong and never acknowledging the things you're doing right. Sounds pretty demoralizing, right? Well, that's exactly how Sigma men feel when they're on the receiving end of non-stop criticism. Criticism has the power to sting, and when it's relentless, it can drive people away faster than you can say, ouch. For Sigma men, constantly being criticized feels like a never-ending battle to meet impossible standards. No matter what they do, it seems like it's never good enough. And let's be honest, nobody likes feeling like they're constantly under the microscope. When you're always pointing out flaws and shortcomings, it sends the message that you're not happy with them, no matter what they do. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Instead of feeling motivated to improve, they start to feel discouraged and defeated. Your words stop being helpful and start feeling more like an attack. Now here's the kicker. Everyone likes to feel appreciated and understood. Sigma men are no different. They respond much better to positive reinforcement and constructive feedback than they do to constant criticism. Sure, they can handle a bit of constructive criticism here and there, it's all part of personal growth. But there's a big difference between offering helpful advice and constantly nitpicking every little thing they do. Sigma men value honesty, but they also value kindness. They'd much rather spend their time around people who lift them up and help them grow, rather than tear them down with constant negativity. Number 5, they dislike you. Picture this. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, you just don't vibe with certain people. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. No matter how hard you try, it just doesn't work out. And you know what? That's okay. It's a part of life that we all experience at some point. Think of it like this. You've got different tastes in music, movies, and food, right? Well, the same goes for personalities. Sometimes you meet someone and there's just no spark. Maybe you have different interests, or your personalities clash. Whatever the reason, the chemistry just isn't there. Now here's the thing. It's not always about something you did or said. It's not a reflection of your worth as a person. It's just one of those things. People are picky about who they spend their time with, and if there's no real connection, they might prefer to keep their distance. And you know what? That's perfectly normal. We're all different, and that's what makes life interesting. Just like you might not enjoy everyone's company, they have the right to choose who they want to be around too. It's nothing personal. It's just the way relationships form and fade, so don't take it to heart. Sometimes it's just not meant to be, and that's okay. Number 6, you tend to speak a lot of nonsense. Imagine this. You're chatting with someone, hoping for a good, meaningful conversation, but instead, it feels like you're wading through a sea of meaningless chatter. Sound familiar? Well, that's one reason why Sigma men might start giving you the cold shoulder. See, these guys value quality over quantity when it comes to conversation. They're not big on small talk or gossip about the latest celebrity scandal. No, they're after something deeper, something that makes their brain cells do a little happy dance. So when someone talks a lot but doesn't say much of substance, Sigma men might feel like they're wasting their time. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, except there's not even a needle to be found. And here's the thing. Constantly talking without getting to the point can make them question your intelligence and critical thinking skills. It's like, are you even listening to yourself? Or are you just talking for the sake of hearing your own voice? Sigma men want conversations with substance, ones that leave them feeling enlightened or challenged. So if you're all about the small talk and empty words, they might tune you out or avoid you altogether. They're looking for something more, something that stimulates their mind and feeds their soul. Number 7. You seem to crave attention desperately. Imagine someone who's always trying to steal the spotlight. They're the first to speak up in a group, the loudest laugh in the room, and the center of attention wherever they go. Sound familiar? Well, that kind of behavior can be a real turnoff for Sigma men. See, these guys are all about keeping a low profile and flying under the radar. They're not ones for drawing attention to themselves or being in the spotlight. So when someone comes along craving attention like it's their daily multivitamin, Sigma men might start feeling a bit annoyed. People who constantly seek attention often do things that are loud, flashy, or just for show anything to get noticed. But Sigma men aren't impressed by all that jazz. In fact, it can make them want to steer clear of such people altogether. Why? Because constantly seeking attention can come across as being uncomfortable with yourself. It's like you need others to validate you or give you a thumbs up before you feel okay with yourself, and that's not a good look. Sigma men value authenticity and confidence, not someone whose actions are based on what others think. So if you're always craving attention, it might seem like you're not comfortable in your own skin, and that can push people away faster than you can say, "Look at me." Number 8, they simply need some time alone. Think about those times when you just want to hit the pause button on life and retreat into your own little bubble. No texts, no calls, just you and your thoughts. Well, Sigma men feel the same way sometimes. See, they're big believers in the power of solitude. For them, alone time isn't just about catching up on Netflix or scrolling through social media. It's a chance to recharge their batteries and hit the reset button on their minds. So if a Sigma guy seems to be giving you the cold shoulder, it might not have anything to do with you. He could just be in one of those phases where he's craving some quality alone time. And hey, that's totally normal. We all need a moment to step back from the chaos of everyday life and just breathe. For Sigma men, this time alone isn't just about physical space. It's about creating mental and emotional breathing room too. It's a chance for them to reflect on their thoughts, feelings, and where they're headed in life without any distractions. And let's face it, we could all use a bit of that from time to time. So if you find that a Sigma guy is giving you the silent treatment, don't take it personally. Chances are he just needs a moment to gather himself and find his inner zen. It doesn't mean he doesn't like you or that he's antisocial. It just means he's human, craving a bit of peace and quiet in a noisy world. Number 9, you fail to inspire trust. Ever had that gut feeling about someone that just doesn't sit right? You can't quite pinpoint it, but something feels off. Well, for Sigma men, those feelings are like alarm bells ringing in their heads. See, trust is a big deal for them. If they sense even a hint of doubt or uncertainty about someone, they won't hesitate to keep their distance. And let's be real, who can blame them? If you've ever told a lie, betrayed their trust, or acted in a way that makes them question your true intentions, they're going to pick up on it. Sigma men are like human lie detectors. They can spot inconsistencies from a mile away. Consistency is key for them. If you're constantly changing your tune or acting shady, they're going to feel uneasy around you. They like knowing where they stand with people. And if they can't figure that out with you, they'll opt to steer clear altogether. Now don't get it twisted. Sigma men aren't out to be mean or vindictive. They just don't see the point in wasting time on someone they can't trust. They're looking for friends who make them feel safe and secure. And if you don't fit the bill, they'll politely excuse themselves from the conversation. For them, it's simple. No trust equals no time spent together. They'd much rather kick back and enjoy their own company than roll the dice on someone who might not have their best interests at heart. Number 10. You exhibit an excessive amount of arrogance and selfishness. Ever met someone who just can't seem to stop talking about themselves? They're always boasting about their accomplishments, putting themselves first, and acting like they're the center of the universe. Yeah, those folks tend to rub people the wrong way. See, when someone is excessively self-centered, it's like they're wearing blinders. They only see things from their own perspective. They'll dominate every conversation, only focusing on their interests and achievements, and completely ignore anyone else's input. For Sigma men who value deep and meaningful conversations, Dealing with people like this is a total buzzkill. They're all about listening and observing, but when someone's ego takes up all the air in the room, they'd rather not waste their breath. Sure, everyone likes to share their wins and be recognized for their accomplishments, but there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. When someone's arrogance is off the charts, it sends the message that they think they're better than everyone else. And that's a major turnoff for Sigma men. Selfish behavior is another red flag. When someone only looks out for their own interests without considering how it affects others, it's a recipe for disaster. Sigma men believe in equality and mutual respect, so dealing with someone who's all about me, myself, and I doesn't exactly float their boat. At the end of the day, arrogance and selfishness create barriers between people. They prevent genuine connections from forming and make others feel sidelined. So, if you want to vibe with Sigma men, it's best to check your ego at the door and show a little humility. Trust me, they'll appreciate it. Dear fellow seekers of knowledge, if you find these insights and tips for Sigma males intriguing, don't miss out. Hit the subscribe button below. Join our community of like-minded individuals and unleash your inner Sigma. We've got a wealth of exciting content lined up just for you, so stay tuned for more intriguing and empowering discussions. Subscribe now, and let's embark on this journey of discovery together. Stay safe, gents. Thanks for watching.